Okay, I am gonna go live here. I think I'm live now. It's gotta pop out the chat. Yeah, it's live. It says stream health live. Is it this one? Pop out chat. Boom. Hey everyone, Mike Rosehart here. Can you hear me loud and clear? Testing, testing. Please. Can you guys hear that? First, Austin, you're first. There you go. I see your chat just pop up, so I know that we are live. Jonas, how's it going? Really excited. Sound is good? Cool. Really excited to drop this video. For a long time, I've kind of kept it a little stealth that I was working towards the real estate license, and so I'm not technically a realtor yet, so it's a bit clickbaity. But why become a realtor, and why does it make sense over becoming a wholesaler or basically not becoming anything at all, right? And so there's a line of argument you can think through, and we'll talk about on the show today about why I think it makes sense for some people and maybe not for others, but why it made sense for me anyway. For one, I talk on this channel about, trying to get deals off market and et cetera, et cetera. By being a realtor, that doesn't mean that I can't still get solid deals. Now, I can buy things off market. For instance, good agents that have a lot of people in their private network often will list properties and not put them on MLS. Or they will sell before they hit the realtor.ca MLS. So the multi-listing service is MLS. So a lot of properties in London, probably, I would say thousands of properties in London, and that's probably true, I'm guessing, but I know certain brokerages do several hundred each off market privately. I know brokerages that do several hundred in a month off market privately, and so that's huge. Very people are saying he's a sellout, he's a realtor. Let's be honest here. I'm a real estate investor first, and that is always going to be my thing. I'm also still early retired in the sense that my passive income is way more than I need to live, and I'm not doing this as a job. I'm doing this because I enjoy the hunt of a deal, and I can't help but love the hunt of a deal. Will I be doing open houses and a lot of the stuff that realtors do? Probably not. I'll probably co-list with another really young, hungry. Young and hungry. That's a new word there. He's really well hung. I will partner with someone and probably work with them to list the properties that we're going to be selling. Unless it was a really close friend, but it makes a ton of sense for me. Hey Ellie, how you doing? Jake, I don't know how we get disliked. I guess people don't like that I became a realtor. Yeah, Mark's, it's kind of a breaking point, right? For doing your own deals, I don't think it makes sense. I think you should find a realtor who will give you a kickback, who will pay your closing costs or will pay for some renovations on close, will give you some of that commission back. Because, by the way, there are a lot of agents who will do that. The agent gets 2.5%. A lot of them will kick back 1% to you in the form of closing costs, or what you can negotiate them to do some renovations on your project. So ask for that from your agent, unless you have one of those first full service agents who has so many buyers on the list that if you ask for that, they're never going to call you when a good deal comes up, because they'd rather get the full 2.5% for the deal, and they'd rather give it to a different investor. So be careful with asking for discounts. At the same time, I've seen personally when I've worked with realtors, them not call me, right? Because they knew that I was looking for a deal, right? On the commission, not necessarily on the property. And so they won't call me with the deal because I'm asking them for a deal. So just be careful. It depends on who you're dealing with and how you're dealing with them. But I don't think it makes sense. I actually don't think it makes sense to become a realtor if you're going to do less than 7 deals a year. I think if you're going to be doing less than 7 properties a year, it doesn't make sense to be a realtor unless you just love it and enjoy it. In which case, that's my plan. I love and enjoy it. As a worst case scenario, let's think through the worst possible case scenario. I literally do a few deals to cover my costs to be at the brokerage. Probably, Austin asked which brokerage, probably Sutton. It's probably going to be the brokerage that I go with. I'm 99% sure. I've interviewed 7 or 8 brokerages, and each one has different value that they bring to the table and different kind of value proposition. But Sutton has 125 agents in London. They have the top team and the top agents in London. They do hundreds, thousands of deals off market, and that's very important. I need to be able to make connections with the right people, and they have the development, the training, and the connections most of all. They're partnering with 31 different builders. They just have a lot to offer, I think, and their fee structure makes a lot of sense. It's a upfront fee structure, and then you eat what you kill 100%. So there's no splits. You just pay a huge fee, and then you're set. And they're full service too, which is really nice. So for me, that's where I'm going to go probably. Hey, how's it going, Hugo? Good to see you on. We're going to get you a deal too. Don't worry, I promise. I have a shortage of deals, if you guys haven't realized. We got investors begging. I got a bunch of you guys begging me for deals, and I don't have deals. Now, there's lots of properties for sale, but nothing that's meeting my metrics right now. I'm actively working on a couple of properties, but they're for bigger investors. So someone who can take on like a $700,000 deal or a $350,000 deal. We've got some deals in the pipeline we're working on, but I don't have anything small right now, unfortunately. I am working. Yeah, it's a good, Mark's a good point. Can't find a realtor that works fast enough on great deals on the MLS. Very good point. Yeah, a lot of agents, they'll have their 1 or 2 preferred clients, and then they won't really care or respond quickly for the other clients. Same reason that I ended up becoming a realtor. My investors, so we've got tons of investors for the property management company and all that, and I wasn't getting the kind of reaction speeds that I needed from investors. And there was just another layer of like me talking to a realtor, right? It just was too many layers, and so me being able to deal direct, I'm going to be able to probably negotiate better prices. I'm a good negotiator, and I believe in my ability to negotiate effectively and competently, specifically around small nuances like vacant possession, which I think the strategy that they were coming at it, some of the realtors I've used might not have been the strategy that I used to come at it, or maybe they work with us and we drop some notices off. And if I'm handling the entire transaction as the realtor, I have more control and more influence, as well as from a documentation perspective. If we need to assign a deal or create an amendment, I was waiting days for some of that stuff to be done. I can just do it like that, right? I am most interested in my investors. Let's be clear here. I'm not looking for clients. If friends in the network need me to sell a property for them for top dollar, I can do that. Like, I know market value like that, right? So for me to walk into a property, I can do a CMA, current market assessment, like that. So I'm basically already a realtor. I've been writing offers privately, dozens of them, right? So I've not been trading in real estate, but I've been buying and selling a lot of real estate. I sold 11 of my own properties, mostly off the MLS, just privately. So I've been doing basically what a realtor does anyway, writing offers and that. And so I think that it's more or less just paying the fees and being a realtor, right? Kim's Try It channel. Nice. Hey, Mike. Finally had a free Wednesday. Could hop on. Can't wait to hear your answers. You're the best. Thanks. Appreciate that. The comment's awesome. Chris Sayers, good to see you on. Eric, what's going on? Hey, Eric. We're working hard on Unit 1 on the Wilson triplex today. So it's going well. We might even throw some tenants in. I've been noodling with the idea between. So Airbnb, they're talking about now Airbnb, you have to charge HST and pay HST. They're talking about an Airbnb, and potentially if you Airbnb units out in your property, CRA is talking about calling it commercial. And so in places like Vancouver, they're now charging commercial property taxes on properties that are mini hotels. They're also saying on sale, it's not a residential property, so it's not exempt from HST. It's commercial. So on sale, $2 million property sells, there's $226,000 in HST. Very scary stuff. Read into the guidelines of the CRA. They are making it very cost prohibitive, profit prohibitive, related to doing Airbnb. So be very careful there. There is some nuances with that. Anyway, talking about maybe getting that unit rented, actually, Eric, I might even have a group that will take it right now, and we might get turned over quick enough that we get that front unit rented out for like $2K a month. I'm thinking if we get $2K, $1,500, and then a couple, $100 or $200 for the garage long term, we'd be like over $5,000 a month in, what does that equal? Yeah, over $5,200 a month, and at $333,000 purchase price, maybe we'll spend $50,000 renovating it or something. We're looking at 1.5% real in a great area right near Western University. So really excited for that project. I'm really excited to actually do a video on that project. I'm going to be starting a Patreon, not because I really care about getting your $10 a month or whatever it is that the Patreon levels require, but because from a business perspective, it makes a ton of sense. There are a lot of things I want to be sharing. For instance, walkthroughs in my properties that I'm buying, properties that I'm renovating. I can't post this stuff publicly because I don't want building inspectors breathing down my neck. I don't want people looking in my properties, seeing what I'm doing. I don't want previous tenants to complain about some of the things that we've done. I don't want to expose our investors. A lot of our investors want the properties to be kept privately, and they don't want it to all be shared. And so Patreon allows me to offer all that privately, so you can see what I'm actually doing, going into the renos and doing videos of actual projects we're working on. And so that's something I'm going to start doing on Patreon. And probably my key investors will get free access, or like pretty much free access anyway, so they can see project updates and stuff. I think it's gonna be kind of cool. Are there contract templates to download online that you recommend? I'm afraid to make a mistake using a poorly worded contract. So what I've always done is made it a living, breathing thing that I've updated over time. I use the Form 100 Agreement of Purchase and Sale, or APS. I've always used the Form 100 from OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association. So use your local board's form. You can use the same one. When it comes to the brokerage or the real estate agents, you just cross it off and put NA, not applicable, and you write it off the same as you normally would write an offer and submit it. Some big, like I have a lot of clauses that I like to use, about 8 or 9 clauses that are just really key. Things like being able to show the property before it closes and rent it out before it closes, show it to prospective tenants, 24 hours notice, and contractors. Allows me to get into the property whenever I want and basically rent the property out before it closes, so I can cash flow from day one. Or if it's a big reno project, have everything lined up for day one. A lot of people wait to show the property until after they close on it. That's a mistake, causes vacancy. If you're a good property manager, there is no vacancy. Vacancy only exists if you're doing a little bit of renovation work. But other than that, there should be no vacancy ever. Tenants give you 30 and 60-day notice to move and vacate. That gives you 30 or 60 days to rent a unit. If you can't rent a unit when they're in this market right now, in like a week, you're not marketing properly and you don't have the right network, or you're not hustling hard enough. There should be no vacancy. There is none in residential right now, unless you suck. That's the honest truth. If you hustle, even in a more depressed market, I think you would find you'd be able to rent a unit in a few weeks with some consistent posting and diligence on the part of the manager or landlord. So that's why I don't think vacancy is a huge issue. Let's see. Don't know if Patreon is as good an idea as it used to be, but that's a very big discussion for another time. Kyle, you're sitting right here with me. I mean, here's the thing with, like, I want to be able to post videos that, and this might be a discussion we should be having, guys, because I want to be able to post videos that I don't want to post on YouTube. Now, how do I do that? How do I share videos with people so you guys can see what I'm actually doing on the inside track that isn't a course, because I'm not really about the courses, but gives you access to what I'm actually doing on the daily. I can just post, even if it's like I'm writing up an offer, do like a 1-minute video, a lot less refined, because the algorithm on YouTube will punish me if I do that, but a lot less refined, kind of like what I'm doing on Instagram, but basically a paid platform, so that people like, I'm just trying to think of an inspector or someone like that, or the government can't go on and watch your video and use it against you later, because that's what they are doing with information you're throwing out there. They're using it against you later, right? And you don't want that. A previous, a seller or a buyer in the future using something against you that you put online. So that's why I want to put it under a place where it's paid access. That way you got to pay to enter, and I can limit and restrict content. It could be something where until you have a subscription, you don't get to start seeing the videos. As soon as you get the subscription, any videos posted before you can't see. Something like that, so that if someone even just tried to pay $20 to get access to it, they couldn't get access to all my old videos. Only the people who've been following since the beginning would have access to what I'm doing with all of the different projects and stuff that we're doing, without putting ourselves at risk, because there is risk, and I have to be very careful now, especially as a realtor. I can't talk about market conditions or what things have sold for. I can, but I have to be very careful about how I speak about these things, and I'm gonna, kind of walk through these waters and wade through them carefully. Because I can't go on and just start, spitting off certain things. There's certain duties and things like that. I don't like it, but it's just the way the environment is operating. So let's get some of these questions. So to answer your question, is there like a template? Yes, the OREA 100 is the one the Agreement of Purchase and Sale standard form that realtors use. I use the exact same one. However, I've taken like 3 of the best offers I'd ever seen written and combined them into one. So I took the best clauses that I saw guys at Century 21 using, and guys at places like Sutton, and all the places I've taken the best conditions and kind of merged them into one agreement of purchase and sale that I use, and I sort of drag and drop the conditions as I see fit, and that's sort of how you do it. Yeah, that's the best way. Definitely want to be very careful. If you don't know, Marks, about how to write a good offer, be careful, because an agent does bring a ton of value, like a really experienced agent or experienced real estate investor who's done a lot of deals. And I say that carefully because there's a lot of realtors who are good at selling, but are not real estate investors. They don't know cap rates. They don't know, right? So the fact that I'm probably in the top 5% or 1% of investors in London gives me a huge edge as a realtor, because I'm an investor first, right? And I'm not just going to sell people. Like, I'm not there to sell. I'm honestly not. I'm there to buy. I'm there to buy properties for my investors, and that's really what it's about at the end of the day, is building this mammoth of a company It's going to be so big. We're going to have an awesome team of people surrounded in the roundtable, right? And so big shout out to Jaden, Jonas, and Michael, who will be living in the lower unit of the firehouse. And we'll do a cool video tour once everything's done, where they're going to be living. This is going to be living and breathing financial independence, real estate, hustle, all of it. And they're part of that 1 year mentorship. So I'm really excited for that. There'll be some more stuff coming on that stuff. Okay, some good questions here. Let's hit these up. I was wondering if you could elaborate on the 20% rule for a down payment on a Canadian investment property, residential rental. So Chris Sayers, I don't know what the 20% rule is, but typically you have to put 20% down payment when you buy a property, and 80% of the value of the property purchase price is mortgaged. Now, you might say, like, the rule of why I recommend 20% down, because any more than 20% gives you no additional benefit. Any less than 20%, and you're stuck paying private mortgage insurance with CMHC or Genworth or one of the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation. They insure the property if you put less than 20% down. That cost is a fixed cost immediately on purchase. And whether you build equity or refinance it down the road, that cost is no matter 100%, you pay it right up front. And it's around 3 to 4% of the purchase price of the property, amortized and compounded against you over the lifetime of the mortgage. So over the lifetime of the mortgage, it'll be 20 to 30% of the purchase price depending on the interest rate you use. But right off the bat, 4%. So if you put 5% down on a property, you'd have private mortgage insurance in Canada for about 4% fee. So your 5% down payment is gone. If you sell the property for more than you bought it for, less commissions, you get the exact same after net of commissions and all the closing costs of buying the property and selling the property. If you end up with the exact same amount of purchase price at the end of it, or let's say you get 10% more purchase price than what you started with, you'd result in having no money. You'd lose your entire 5% down. So on a $300,000 house, that's $15,000 plus closing costs. You'd be out almost all $20,000 of your money. So if you ever want to go refinance that property down the road too, you can only ever refinance a property 80% loan to value. So if you use private mortgage insurance to buy a deal, you have to wait till there's 20% equity or more than that in the property to refinance. And as soon as you refinance, all the benefit you had from buying the property at 5% down is gone, yet you're still paying the CMHC fees. So that's kind of a downer with it. So you're saying, what do you do, Mike? Well, what you do is you literally borrow the money from an unsecured line of credit, a family member, or a loan shark, because at 10 or 15% interest, it's cheaper to go borrow if you only have 5% down to buy a property and it was a really good deal and you had to buy it and you couldn't wait to save it, you could borrow that additional 15% from a loan shark at 15%, and it would be cheaper than getting private mortgage insurance and buying 5% down. So buy 20% down. And within 2 years, if you've done any renovations on the property, arbitraged at all on the value of the property, let's say there's any appreciation and mortgage pay down, those factors combined, within 2 years, everyone is at around 20% equity in the property anyway. All the people who bought with 5% down, they end up 20% down. So the benefit is such a short amount of time. For a year or two, you get to have less capital in the project, but that's it. It's like a year or two of benefit, and then you're in 20% equity anyway. In which case, if you did the other way and put 20% down, you could refinance after 2 years, all the additional pay down, mortgage pay down, appreciation, forced arbitrage, etc., out of the property. And so that's why I'm a big fan of 20% down. And that's why I say, like, the 20% golden rule. You want to put 20% down on the property. Why would you put 25 or 30 or 35 if you don't have to? Don't. More down decreases your return on investment. So it's kind of a balancing act with return on investment. But yeah, hopefully that clarified things for you. Patrick G. Hey, Mike, first time catching you live. Been watching Wisewell for about 3 months, but usually listen at work Thursday mornings. Awesome, Patrick. Good to have you on. Thank you for joining in. Welcome. Let's see, scroll down. I lost my place here. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Thanks as always for the knowledge. Jason McLeod, really appreciate that. Thanks so much. The Patreon Exodus. Yeah. Michael Chung, do you still invest in Old East Village where there's high risk and tenant turnover? Yeah, so I invest anywhere in London that makes financial sense. I'm no longer bound by areas. I'll tell you this. So imagine if, like, pick something, this phone. Like I might have this phone, this iPhone for you guys. You might say, like, I don't want to buy this iPhone. I will sell you this iPhone. I can sell you anything. This camera, this audio equipment. I can sell you this right now, this mouse. I can sell you anything if the price was right. If I gave you this for 90% off retail, you'll take this phone. If I sold your house in East London for 30 or 40% off retail, you take that property. So it's about kind of measuring risk to reward, right? And what you need to do in those areas is screen really, really well, because there's a really high risk of getting a bad tenant, and there's high risk for vandalism. You just have to be more astute with managing those types of properties in East London, or you just choose the slumlord approach, which some landlords like to do, and they just do the bare minimum, right? And that's fine. Like, you can do that. You can run your business in that way, your landlording business in that way. I guess we do have properties in Old East. I think Old East Village is overpriced now. It's getting, majorly overpriced. There are still pockets that are okay, but it's become more mainstream now. So there's not really the arbitrage. Like, if you wanted an up and coming neighborhood, you might pick like a Soho, or there's like a couple other neighborhoods that are not too bad as well in eastern London. So there's some pockets there. I think there's also some pockets that are up and coming as well in the south of Western University. There's a bunch of other areas like Northwest. There's some pockets where there's still some arbitrage opportunity. So there are different opportunities throughout London, and that's changing all the time, right? Old East Village now, I guess everyone's watched Matt McKeever's videos and watched all the other content. They won an amazing award for best neighborhood or whatever in London. That made that neighborhood huge. So now it doesn't have, it still has rough tenants in it, but it doesn't have the same upside that it once did. I was looking at triplexes in Old East Village like 2014 for $100,000. They were 2-3% rule. And I was like, I don't know if this neighborhood's going to turn around. That was wrong of me. I was wrong. I should have invested there because I would have done really well. Now, I did well in the areas that I invested too. Don't get me wrong, all of London's done very well. And I picked some areas in White Hills, for instance, that done very well, and some areas near Western that also ballooned and did very, very well. But at that time, I was very focused on doing student rentals, on doing young professionals and families, but mostly young professionals, because I didn't have the same drama. Like, the amount of energy return on time was way, way better on a student rental that no one called me for 8 months and nothing was wrong. Whereas in an East London property that's beat up and had rough tenants in there, they're calling you all the time with their problems. And they have problems because they don't have any money. So then it just manifests, and they get in a fight with their ex, and then he beats them up and throws someone through the window and this and that, and they're drinking, and so things happen and escalate, and the drugs and all of that goes along with those C-class properties. Now what we do is we buy those C-class properties, we fix them up, turn them into B properties, not A properties, B properties, and we put good, solid tenants in there, the best we can find for the area. And then they can cash flow extremely well. So there's not a reason we don't want to buy there. I would still buy there. Now, if I was doing this, I was trying to advise you guys, if you're landlords by yourself and you didn't have a property manager to deal with it, a layer of insulation. Like, if you were to work with us and JV with us, or even just hire us to manage your property, it's different because you're not dealing with the stress. But if you're actually physically dealing with your own property, your return on time will be very bad in those East London properties. And so I'm very selective now about, if someone called me and managed one of their properties in East London in a rough area, like Fanshawe, East London, that's okay. I can deal with that. But I'm saying a rough, Horton, Dundas or something, Soho area, whatever, then that's a little bit different situation. And so, you kind of have to consider that. Very good question, actually. It's a great question. Hey, Mike, I have some questions your way. Have you ever been scammed, and what were some red flags that you noticed after? Good question. Scammed. Yes, I've been scammed lots of times. I've been blackmailed. I've been scammed, mostly by contractors, actually. By and large, it's been contractors. What are the tall tale signs? They provide a reference, and the reference is their friend. And so you dig a little deeper, and you can tell the reference they clearly didn't do work for the reference. That was a tall tale sign on one of them, which I thankfully avoided. Another one I'm thinking of where it didn't go well was they wanted money up front. They wanted 40% of the renovation work up front. Naive Mike at 6 years ago was like, you know what, this guy seems solid. He needed money for materials. That made sense. I gave them the 40% down, and that was a huge mistake. They just kind of buggered off. Another one too is a draw. The contractors that can't manage their money and say, I need a draw, man. I need another 1,000. Those contractors who can't manage their money well, it's almost always a danger sign. So be very, very careful. Those contractors are the ones you want to avoid, because they tend to be, if they can't manage their own personal finances, or they're fronting the next job using your money now, or a lot of these contractors are a job behind. So that's why they take the 40% on the new job to cover the last of the old job, etc. So just be careful with all of that. Those are some warning signs. What other warning signs are there? Danger signs. You're seeing work not done properly. That's a huge danger sign. You're seeing them cover things up. You notice problems and they're trying to cover and hide their tracks. That's an example of like, look out. Lying is a big one. Look for lying and theft. If I hear them talk about, and I'll talk to them for a while about previous jobs, and I remember one of them was like, yeah, I used to work at Tim Hortons, and I used to steal like all the sandwiches and all the bagels after I left. And they said that to me one time. It was like McDonald's. I'm just changing the name, but they stole everything after their shift. As soon as they said that to me, that should have been red flag. This person's a thief at the core of who they are. They're just casually telling me about screwing their previous employer, and they're technically employed with me. So shouldn't that be a red flag? They're going to steal my materials. And naive Mike thought, oh, well, they were just sticking it to the man. They were just stealing a little bit of stuff from their old job at Walmart or McDonald's. And they, sure enough, stole from me. I caught them stealing flooring and trim from my job and using it on another job. And so, yeah, that's in the past. I've definitely been scammed and learned the hard way about dealing with contractors. Thankfully, now we have some really good people, but it's always, you try a new guy out and you see how it goes. There's always a bit of that. It's the nature of it, right? So sometimes you pay for what you get, not always. People say that saying you pay for what you get. It's partially true, but there is also a ton of arbitrage where you get gems for 20 bucks an hour who are like just gold. And then you get like turds for $30 an hour and $35 an hour. So just, yeah, you might get a nugget or you might get a turd. It just kind of depends on, and you have to try them out. Let's give them very small jobs and start from there. And I preferred always to pay hourly in the beginning. The other way they scam you too is say they're working your job while you're at work, doing your 9 to 5, and they're over another job because they learn your routine and they know you're not going to be there from 1 to 4 p.m. So they'll just piece off. And so there's been a lot of little scams and stuff like that I've encountered. I've never been like officially scammed of like the internet or something that I can think of. But yeah, I guess that'd be the biggest thing, would be look out for that. I bought properties before where people intentionally hid things like leaking basements, and I found out after that they intentionally tried to do that. But the effort to go and sue them and the money to go and sue them was more than it was like an $8,000 foundation repair. People message me all the time on Instagram saying, Mike, like, oh, I bought a property with like a leaking basement, or like, oh, I bought a property with like a leaking roof, or like a bad electrical outlet. This is a stupid one, a bad electrical outlet. They're like, like, how do I sue the buyer? This is so bad. Like, my house is not safe. And I'm like, you're complaining about 3 electrical outlets that are shorting out? That's like a $300 repair probably. Even if they have to run new line from the panel, it's like $800. You're actually thinking about suing the previous owner over that. No, write that off, get it fixed. It's not even worth your energy or your time to go after someone for something stupid like that. People get it's crazy how homeowners are like, oh, they sold me a bad house. It's like over a couple of electrical issues, over a roof leak, stuff happens. An icy wind comes in and rips a couple shingles up, roofs leak. Build in maintenance into your budget. Have contingency set aside. Buy your properties $5,000 or $10,000 under market, and then build that in so that you're safe. You're good if something happens, right? So that's sort of my thought on that. Let's go down and get some more questions here. Hey, Mike, had some questions your way. I answered that one. How do you find good maintenance workers? It's very tough. Very, very tough. You find good ones, try to keep them exclusive. That's my biggest advice. If you cannot keep someone full-time, you will lose them. If they're good, someone else will take them full-time. So that's why when I find someone who's good, and if you know anyone who is good in London, who does good contracting work, send them my way. They need to have a vehicle, among other things, but send them my way. I will take them on and I will keep them, because someone asking me, like, people will say, hey, Mike, can I have your contractor? Like, could I borrow your contractor for like 3 weeks? You can give me his number. Never. I will never share trades again. I'm sick of sharing trades. I've shared trades before where the trade, I only used him once or twice, so I didn't know how good he was going to be. He screwed the person. They blamed me. I just provided a number. This guy did flooring. I don't know. That's what happens when you so if you share and it goes well, you'll never hear anything back from them. If it shares and it goes bad, you're going to hear back from them, and they're going to tell you, and they're going to blame you. The other issue is, even if it goes well, there's literally nothing to gain by sharing a contractor, except unless you want to give them business or something, which there's been some of that where I've shared contractors and it's been all right with close friends that I can trust. But there's been times where you share a contractor and all of a sudden they're being used so much they can't finish your jobs. They can't get your jobs done. And so I don't like sharing contractors. What ends up happening is you end up losing that contractor, or your current job doesn't go near as well. So I just buy enough properties to keep that person full-time busy, and I make them exclusive to work with us. Asking to have my contractor's number and take him from us is like asking to have $5,000. You might as well send me a message and say, hey Mike, can I have $5,000? You get the same response. So yeah, sure, Kyle. No, but seriously, I mean, there are times where I will share contractor stuff, but lately I've been trying to avoid it because it's been coming back to bite me in the butt. I've been sharing trades and I never get anything out of it. It's literally just me being a good guy sharing my trade, and it's always like, oh, they didn't do this the way I wanted it. Oh, they charged me too much for this. Oh, they didn't, or if they're good and they actually are a good contract, they take them and they use them, and then I can't use them because they're using them, and they bring them onto their next project. So trades are resources, and if you're just doing small time stuff, it's okay. But for me, I have a lot of demand for renovation work. I can't be sharing my trades. And there's been literally no benefit. Only with like really close friends have I shared a trade. If they're in a pinch or something, then I'd share the guys that I've used. But definitely, I mean, I'm open to helping and sharing, but at the same time, like there's literally no benefit. And most of the time it bites you in the ass. Something goes wrong and you're blamed for it, which is the worst. You don't want that. Okay, is it possible to do rent to rent in Ontario? Also, what could you do in real estate that takes little money down? Good question, Hugo. Yes, you can do rent to rent. It's called rent to sublet or rent to Airbnb, or just subletting. It's the exact same thing as the video you're talking about, the one that's now gone viral. I think I helped with that, shared that with a ton of people. That undercover video, which is great, that Samuel Leeds did. Fantastic. I want to do a video like that myself, just don't have the time to sit down for a week and prove that it's possible. But effectively what you do is you rent an apartment out, like I've been talking about in my previous videos on rent hacking. You can check out those videos previously in my channel on rent hacking, and you'll see this strategy works the exact same here as it did there. Basically, you'd rent a place, let's call it a house, for $1,700 a month. It's a 4-bedroom house with a den. You put up an IKEA bookshelf to make the 4th room kind of like a 5th, put in some nice furnishings, and you could theoretically live there or not live there. But let's say you live there, you'd live in maybe the den in the lower and rent the other 4 rooms out for $550 a piece. Boom, boom, boom. There's $2,200 a month. Your rent is $1,700 a month. You are now profiting $500 a month. You live there not only for free, but $500 a month positive. So that's what like the rent to rent strategy is all about. I think in that video he used like bookings.com and Airbnb to actually get way more rents. So it's the same thing, but on Airbnb, a bedroom can get about $1,000 in London, Ontario, or $1,100. So you do the exact same thing, but instead of $2,200, you're getting $4,400 a month because you're Airbnb-ing it effectively. You have no risk. Well, you have some risk, but you have very low risk because you didn't buy the property. You're controlling an asset that's worth a couple $100,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 for, a couple grand a month, and you're able to net that cash flow between the $1,700 you're paying them and the $4,000 you're getting from Airbnb. So you can make a couple of grand a month doing that strategy. And best of all, you don't have to worry about the CRA crackdown because you don't own the property. There is no risk to you. You're literally renting it, and as long as your landlord gave you permission, you'd be fine. Even so, it's very hard to evict a tenant for subletting if they live there. It's not considered a sublet. If they're completely not living there and they're just re-renting it, then that's fine. Make sure you just, what Samuel Leeds did is put it into his lease the same way you could, the right to be able to do that. And so if you have the right to be able to do that, the landlord can't say or do anything, in which case there's a huge business there. I'm seriously considering going and renting out like 4 or 5 places. I'm seriously considering having, this is a secret, I was going to secretly have the mentees look into doing this actually. As part of their mentorship program, I have like 5 different core modules I wanted them to kind of focus on. And this is kind of loosely in my head, but one of them was to go rent a place, a really nice place, and then turn it out and put it on Airbnb, and see how they could learn how to manage that sort of as like its own little business and make some money from that by arbitraging low rent prices on really expensive, really nice houses. So there are $500,000-$600,000 houses renting for $2,000 a month. It makes no sense, but yet it's happening. So we should arbitrage that, and we can't buy the houses. So all we can do is rent them, get control of them, and then steal the cash flow for ourselves and make the upside. So it's an idea for you guys. Hey Mike, I know you've answered this question before, but I really want to buy this house. It's $450K, 3 beds, 3 baths. I can't afford the mortgage on my own. How do I include the renter's income to qualify? So if you had leases in place, you could submit the leases. The lenders often won't, depends on the lender. Some lenders will, some lenders won't include that in their calculation. If it's vacant, you can get a Schedule A with your appraisal, which asks for what is market rent. The problem is it's always low. They just assume it rented to a family, so the rents tend to be a little low. And you said, I'd be renting out the other 2 bedrooms and living in one, thank you in advance. Maybe there's ways to add more bedrooms, but 450 grand for 3 bed, 3 bath, it's not that great. I don't know where that is, but I don't know how well that's not going to cash flow. It won't. It'll be cash flow negative in the current interest rate environment, I'm fairly sure. Now, if you wanted to finance this bad boy, you could look out for a partner and say, hey, I'll give you 15% of the property if you go on title with me. Or you find a doctor and say, hey, or a dentist or a friend who's got income, or your parents, you say, hey, can you go 1% on title and I'll go 99% on title, and then you can qualify. So you can offer a situation where you just need to get someone else on title with you who has income, and you'll qualify for whatever you want. So it's really easy to qualify for a mortgage. Just get someone, reach out to a friend who's got some income and get them 1% on title, and you're good to go. So that's how you qualify for a mortgage. Hey Mike, what are some key items when looking for a property manager? Kevin, good question. What are the key items when looking for a good property manager? One, I think you'd want to make sure that they're handy. For me, it's a big thing, is they have that experience with doing renovation work, because they're going to have to manage renovations. They're going to have to do quality control for you. It'd be nice if they could also do some of the maintenance stuff for you, especially if they're a one-man shop. Kind of depends if they're a one-man shop or a bigger company. So it sort of depends on what you're looking for and who you're interviewing. But if you're just looking for one property manager, that would be like one big thing, is having that experience. The second one is having experience managing tenants and going to the landlord-tenant board. If your property manager's never been to the landlord-tenant board, I don't know, just be careful, because they probably don't know the rules. They haven't been through the eviction process. That'd be something I would look for. Probably in order of importance, I'm going the opposite way, because most important, I would say, is knowing market rents and knowing how to dispatch problems. That's probably the number one, is a problem solver. The best property manager is a good problem solver. They can solve a problem on their own independently quickly. So they have an appliance breaks, they know when they can send it in a tech. Or need to replace appliance, they know who to call to get a used appliance in there cheap and delivered. Or they have a plumbing leak, they know who to call right away. Or they have whatever issue, they're just a well-connected, good problem solver. That's who makes a good property manager. Of course, they're also someone who can spend the time to go by and check on the property and manage all the tenants. You want someone who's got a good disposition too. Like, you don't want a dick as your property manager. Definitely not cool. Hayden, good to see you on, man. Just saw your super chat pop up. Thanks for the $2. Glad you made it on live. It's been a while since I've seen you on. I'm glad that you're finally on that break. You're not working at the same time. Yeah, so I guess to summarize, good property manager would be all of those things I just mentioned, and probably more. Like, if you can find someone also who's just like a nice person. I don't know how to describe that, but like someone that people like to talk to. The hard-ass property managers, I don't know. I've not had good experience with those guys. The tenants don't like them. They have hard times renting for above market rent or getting really good rents because they're just dicks. I almost think a good property manager there's almost like 2 roles. Like, you'd almost like someone who's really good with the tenant facing, and you'd want someone who's like the hammer, who can also do like the renovation work as well as come down on people when they need to, right? Because some tenants, you need to be hard and firm, right? Other times you need to be really nice. And sometimes the tenant's late on rent for a couple of days. If they're a good tenant, like, I'm not going to be N4ing them on the second. That's rude. In fact, it'll destroy any relationship you guys have. If it's a good tenant, you don't bother. You work with them. Oftentimes, you're not going to collect the money anyway unless you work with them. So that's always been the strategy I've tried to apply, rather than being that dick who's like, N4 on the second, evict, right? Because sometimes really rich tenants just forget to pay the rent. And so that's something I've found, is I know tenants that have thousands and thousands of dollars in their bank account. They're just too lazy to send the transfer, or they just didn't get around to it. You had to remind them. That's okay. That doesn't make them a bad tenant. Just because they don't pay rent on time doesn't mean they're not a good tenant. I don't really care if rent comes in on the 2nd or the 5th. I just honestly never cared. I've never been that tight with my cash that I've been worried about that. I always keep several thousand in an open account on all my properties so that I kind of got a buffer there for emergencies or whatever else. And so I've never been that tight that it's been an issue. But yeah, I mean, there might be other considerations you look for in a property manager. That's just off the top of my head. I didn't really rehearse that. Just kind of whatever came out. Don Davies, good to see you. I have a property that's zoned as a duplex. However, there are a couple new additions. I'm wondering if I should apply to rezone it as a fourplex. Are there any disadvantages to rezoning it as a fourplex? Depends where it is, Don. You could apply. You're going to spend thousands of dollars to rezone it from duplex to fourplex. It's like $7,000 for the application, and they can say no. So that's something to be careful of. I don't know. It depends on the market comps in the area. It depends on, sometimes it does make sense to rezone. Oftentimes it doesn't. Just depends. And what if the city says no, and you lost all that money and all that energy? So you could try. Some neighborhoods you just can't get away with it. So it kind of depends on the property. Chris Sayers, hey Mike, do you offer a coaching call for a price? Yeah, technically I do, $99. I'll do a 45-minute call or an hour call or whatever. I've been so busy lately that I haven't had a chance to respond to a bunch of people. And there's a lot of you guys in my inbox who have messaged me, and some of you guys are going to watch this replay. And if you're watching this replay, smash that like button. And if you're watching this live, smash that like button. And I want you to share this with someone somewhere. If they're thinking about real estate at all, this is a good one to share with them. But yeah, so if you guys are watching this too and you've sent me an email to ask for coaching, I apologize. I'm so busy with everything going on with the business and all the different components and functions of the business, part of it being realtor, part of it being property management, part of it being working with investors, that I've been just so busy, and I don't really need the money at all. Money's not really a thing for me, that I'm not super hungry for the money. So I've just been putting that off, but I'm going to try to set up calls with people. So if you do want to reach out with an email in the description, there's a link to my email, and you could email me and we could try to set something up. I'll do my best. Okay, Marks 9004 says, don't have any contractor experience. Hard to find a contractor to do a rehab estimate on a house I don't have in contract already. What do you recommend? Yeah, definitely hard to get a contractor to come out. But if you already have it under contract, you could spin the narrative that you have it under contract, and many will come and quote it. If you had, for instance, a building inspection clause, I would say, I'm doing a building inspection. Would you come take a look at this property? There are a few contractors who will come out. I used to get guys to come out. And worst case scenario, you pay them $20 to come take a look. Especially if you don't use them. If they quote it and you don't end up going with them, give them $20. Be a good person and keep the relationships going. Jason, how you doing? Good to see you on. Can you get legal non-conforming multifamilies ever revert? Should I worry about that? I've never seen them revert back unless you converted them that way, unless they didn't meet codes, in which case you have a non-legal unit, and then you'd have to kind of open up a wall and make the two units one. I've seen that once or twice, but only if it didn't meet current fire codes, it didn't have egress windows or fire separation that met certain, didn't have those things that met code, right? So that'd be the only time I can think of where I had to revert back. Sometimes in residential areas, a triplex is less favorable than a duplex. And so you might convert a small triplex into a nice sized duplex and sell it to an owner occupied and make money. So there are times where less units actually is more valuable, depending on the area. If it's a family area, you might get more value doing it that way. So kind of depends. It's in the heart of Washington, D.C., 2 streets from the Capitol building. Rent goes for $1,500 for each room. Geez, $1,500 a room. Wow, that's some good rent right there. I figured that'd be more than enough to cover my mortgage. You know what? Those kind of rents, possible. You'd still want 1% rule ideally. And I guess 1,500 room, 3 rooms, you would have 1% rule. Yeah. Oh, it's pretty good. So getting financing, you could go to a secondary financing company and you could get a private mortgage put on it with a little bit higher interest rate. Or again, just find someone to go 1% on title with you and have their income thrown into the pot to qualify. Or you just might have if you're already working and you have income, you may just need a better mortgage broker. You might get 3 no's from 3 not as good mortgage brokers, and someone will say yes. So keep trying. Sorry guys, got a bit of a stuffy cold. All plugged up my nose. Wanted to ask for your recommendation. William says, for the best way to network, have to drop offline, but we'll catch the replay. William, great question. How do you network? I don't really have a good strategy for networking. I've always just treated networking as like hanging out with people and making friends. Like that's what networking is I honestly think the best networking connections I've ever made are when I made a real connection with another human being. So don't come at it with like this sales pitch, or like some people try to lob it on thick with like sales pitches and stuff like that. I think it's probably better just to connect with an individual and have a human conversation and find your common interests and focus on those common interests. If you want to make a connection with someone, make it meaningful. And a meaningful connection is that's how you build your network. Meaningful connections are way more important than plenty of surface connections. You'd rather have deep connections with a few key individuals, way more impactful and powerful. So I'm about quality over quantity there, but just treat it like making friends. Like that's what networking really is like making friends with people, and those friends become part of your network and you work together to help each other. Geez, sorry guys. I got to drop off early tonight. I don't feel that great. My daughter brought home some sickness from preschool. It's almost like interpersonal relationships aren't algorithmic.
That's the rent thing.
Okay.
It's almost like it's not just transaction.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like more complicated or something.
Yeah, human beings are complex. Levi. Hey Mike, first time watcher. My brother-in-law from Toronto recommended I watch you. Hey Levi, welcome. Welcome to the show, welcome to my channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully you're getting some value. Shoot a question down below if there's something you want to talk about. I'd be happy to answer the question and share. Hariz says, hey Mike, I work and earn over 100K a year, but I hate it. Is it possible to do real estate investing full time, even though I have very minimal savings at the moment and I'm raising 2 kids under 2? That's tough. You have really good income now, but you hate it. So how can we take you, the thing to do with you is find a way to save. How are you making over $100,000 a year and have no savings? 2 kids is not an excuse. You know what, having kids is, I have kids, I have a kid too, and I'll have more too. And I can guarantee you kids don't cost that much money. Wives don't need to cost that much money. Look into frugality strategies where you can start saving, because if you can start saving that income, you have good income already. If you can start building up some savings, you can start investing in real estate. Once you've built up a few properties or found a way to get your feet wet in real estate, then I would sort of make the transition. I don't think it makes sense to just quit your job and jump into like real estate full time. That's probably not a good idea, especially because it sounds like you don't have a lot of savings already, so you don't have a lot to fall back on. Endure, brother. Carry on. Push. I spent also several years in a job that I hated, and I did it for the better of my family. I did it for the better of my financial future self. But if you're working all this time and you're not saving anything, literally what's the point? You're not getting ahead at all. If you're making over $100,000 a year and you're saving nothing, I challenge you to save 50% of your income. That's my challenge. And I know you can do it. Let's come up with strategies about how you can be more frugal, how you can learn to get by on less and live the same quality of life for less. So let's talk about that in the comments. Daniel, yes, I'm done now. So it's all the challenges done, and I'm now going to be a realtor. So time to bring on the listings, but more specifically, find those pocket listings, those off-market deals that haven't hit MLS, and buy them all, every single one. Give them to me. I need more deals. Got an itch. It's literally like a heroin addiction. And every time I get a deal, it's like, oh, got another deal, man. And like after a couple days, I'm getting like the itches for like another deal. I'm like, oh. So I was just meant to be trading in real estate, and wholesaling wasn't a thing for me. Realtor made a lot more sense. Okay. John Evans, congrats on being a realtor. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's awesome. Pretty excited for what's to come. I'm fairly sure, this might sound cocky, but I think I'll be probably top 5% of agents in London in my first year. I should do top 5% of it. Like I'll be like one of the top agents pretty quick because of the network that I have, right? And I could just buy a bunch of deals myself, and that would get me into the top. So yeah, I'm really excited for what's to come, and no one knows who I am, but people will begin to know who I am once I start getting a foothold in the city. And so that's what we're going about doing, is building a brand so that people come to me with properties. I might even I'm thinking about running an ad campaign on buses or benches or whatever, even Facebook targeted marketing, where I will offer to list people's house for top dollar, trying my best to get top dollar. If I can't sell their house in like 15 or 20 days, I'll buy it myself. And so that would get people coming and saying, your house is sold in like 3 to 4 weeks, no matter what. If I can't sell it, I'll buy it. And so that's one of those things where there'll be conditions on it, of course, but something like that, where I do know a lot of people who want to buy property, and I do know a lot of people who have property, so it just kind of makes sense. So really excited for what's to come with that. Okay, Hariz says, my other options would be being a real estate agent or real estate consultant and start from scratch. I can learn from real estate, but my base would be around $50K annual. Yeah, that seems like a risky thing, man, especially if you're working a job where it's not real estate focused now. Depends on your level of experience. To be a real estate consultant right out of the gate, that's tough. I'd rather come at that. I'd rather you suffer through your job for a little bit longer, or find a job that's more enjoyable for you, making the big bucks, save, build up that foundation, that nest egg, buy some properties, experience real estate investing, and then become a consultant, and then do that kind of stuff, right? As opposed to just jumping in. You don't get your cake right away, right? You got to bake it. So now is the time to bake the cake, to make it, and it's not going to be tasty or fun, but you have to put in the work to enjoy the reward, truly, honestly. For your family's sake, I think you should focus on learning to be super frugal, and that'll help you build up some savings to start investing. And once you can start the snowball rolling, then yeah, once you get a property or two, you get stuff under your belt, then it's the time to maybe look into maybe although you might become a real estate agent and do fairly well if you work a sales job now, maybe there's a lot of transferable skills, and maybe you'll crush it. It is a competitive market, so be careful. If I didn't have the background that I have, I wouldn't want to become a real estate agent. Like if I was still at my old job and I was looking to jump from consulting over to real estate, probably not a great idea, because I didn't have a huge network of properties or investors, and I wasn't looking to buy a lot of properties myself. So I've been trying really hard to get listings to sell, and that's a grind. Remember that 20% of the agents sell 90% of all of the listings. So most of the agents, like 80% of the agents, don't sell much of anything. The average real estate agent makes like nothing, like 30 or 40 grand or something. It's really bad. To be a well into six-figure agent, which like I should do in my first year, you have to be a top performer. And so the question is, can you be? Probably yes, but do you want to take that risk? Maybe better to do it when you have rental income coming in that covers your basic expenses, and you can learn to live on just that. And then anything you earn in the real estate income is, bonus, which is how I treat things. Like I don't need to make a sale. Do I care if a sale goes through? I'm not going to pressure my client to sell their house for less than it's worth. I'm not going to pressure anyone to buy anything. I have an abundance mindset. I'm not scarcity focused. And most agents are running paycheck to paycheck, commission check to commission check. And that's why most agents will dupe you into buying and selling things you shouldn't be buying or selling, which is something I ethically can't do. It's just not in my moral fiber. So yeah, that's my sort of 2 cents on it. Hope that helped. I was a bit hard on you, and I apologize for that, but I think you needed to hear that. Bring on the deals, Michael Chung says. That's right. Let's bring on the deals. Let's all the wholesalers out there, start calling me with deals you want to assign to me. All the listing agents, bring me the deals. I'm gonna have to procure my own deals too. Aiden says, Freeze, if you wanted to get into investing earlier, you could partner with someone who has money but no steady income. Exactly, Aiden. Yep, 100%. Yep, you can totally do that, 100%. All right, question, Levi says, I'm unsure if I should renovate my stacked townhome and convert it to a rental or simply sell it. What are the numbers? That's how we'll be able to determine. Most often, if you bought it as a single family house, it probably doesn't cash flow well, so you should probably sell it. But I could be wrong. That's just most times. Savings is the key thing for long term. 100%, Aiden's right. You've got to be saving towards the long term. If you're earning 100 grand and saving nothing, you're not getting ahead at all. And so if you lose your job tomorrow, you're screwed. You don't want that. You want to have that nest egg built up and that savings. I'm sure you'll hit top 1% in a few years. You have great plans that you execute well on. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate that. Also, be my realtor. Levi, sure. Happy to look at it. I'm from London, my townhome. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, Kyle, you're such a 90s kid. Yeah, sure. Send me an email, or slide into my DM me on Instagram or on Facebook Messenger, and I'll be happy to kind of give you an overall assessment of what I think the property can rent for, what the potential is, and then whether I think it makes sense to sell it or keep it. Oftentimes, we bought the house as a single family house. It makes a lot more sense to sell it and buy a property geared for cash flow. So that's why I sold some of my properties. You want to rebalance your portfolio. Depends on where the property is, too. So yeah, happy to help. Jason, might be charging any realtor fees on your inventors. What do you mean investors? So on the buy side, there are no fees at all. Of course not. Just I would consider the same that I always have. On the sell side, yes, but it would be not fees. I have fees for I thought it was powered, manually. Is the right way? Positive, positive. Get in there. I want to see that sound now. Hello? You guys hear me? Yeah, turn it down when I was touching it. Hello? So quiet, super quiet. Hello? Hello? Testing, testing. Should it be on different settings? Middle? All right. There it goes. Okay, I think it's back on. Someone tell me they can still hear me. Someone tell me you're still here. Sorry, we had a battery glitch. Not actually on the microphones, the wireless microphones, but instead on the preamp. There we go. Okay, cool. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, I don't know if you guys heard that, but Levi, I'd be happy if you sent me a message. I would be happy to help you analyze your property. And like I said, I'm not out for a commission, so I don't really care whether you rent it or sell it, but I'll give you my honest opinion of what I would do. Okay, so the question was, I think, realtor fees. So how it works and how, this is a good point, I think, to actually pause in the video and say, if you're looking to become a realtor, think about what I'm about to say. There are excessive fees to being a realtor. There are desk fees, there are commission splits, there are marketing fees, there are insurance on your car to drive clients around, there are L-Star board fees, there are RICO fees, there are errors and omissions insurance fees, there are transaction costs per deal you do to have the admin work sent off. There is probably $15,000 a year. Some agents spend up to like $40,000 a year in fees, like stuff associated with being a realtor. Now, I could have went with the cheap brokerage, like the cheapest option. I got an offer for $5,000, eat all you want, like 100%, no splits. Now, that offer also included me having to hire my own assistant and do all of the paperwork. And that wasn't, I really needed some more support staff, and I needed some more network too, because me just by myself at a brokerage, it's going to be hard for me to find those pocket listings. If I'm at a brokerage with 125 realtors and going to those pocket listing appointments with other agents before stuff hits MLS, there's going to be way more value for my investors. So I've chosen to probably go with Sutton, and that's because they're like the top producing brokerage in London, and they have a lot of top producers and some opportunity, I think, for the commercial play as well as the residential. So for me, I chose what I chose. Yeah, I honestly chose what I chose because I think it's going to help my investors the most, get the best deals. Now that means, like I said, I have $15,000 in fixed costs I got to cover first. So no matter what, I'm going to need to cover those expenses. So I'll have to charge something, and the brokerage, some of the plans require splits. So you have to charge something for your investors. You can't charge nothing, especially unless I own my own brokerage, then I could probably do what I wanted. But 2 years experience before you can even challenge the broker's license. So I'm years from that point where I can actually do that. But at the point where I can do that, if commissions were the big thing for the investor, then I would beat what other realtors were charging from a commission standpoint. I would, yeah, no problem. I can undercut any other agent because I don't need the money to eat. So I will do it cheaper than the next agent over, and I'll probably get a better sale price than they will as well because of the network that I have, right? And most agents suck at marketing. So again, let's be focused here. I'm really good at selling investment properties. Like I know investment properties like the back of my hand. Single family houses, not as much. I could sell them, but again, it would depend on the area. I've owned several myself and dealt with offers on them, but again, not my specialty, focused mostly on investment properties. Okay, volume down, no one can hear me. Hopefully that solved your question. I don't know where it died off at. What do you think about rent to rents? Have you personally done any deals? Hurries, I did actually if you rewatch this video, I talked about the rent to rent. And basically, it's like rent to sublet and then Airbnb properties. So if you go back and rewatch this recording, I talked exactly, that question came right up. So you'll hear my thoughts on that. Okay. Damn, you got a live stream team. Future Wiz, you know what's up? It's Kyle over here. And also all the people watching too. Thank you all for supporting. We had 28 people through the point of having no sound for like 45 seconds. That's dedication. You guys are awesome. All of you guys are awesome. I appreciate you. Okay, thoughts on Jeff Bezos' divorce. His spouse's entitlement is $65 billion estimated. Woo! They say money corrupts, and they say that, I don't know. I don't have a thought either way. I haven't read into it much. Just saw the headline, and that was it. I'm hustling like all day long. I don't have time for entertainment weekly. People have to update me. You guys have to tell me what's up with that. I don't know why. I thought he was married for like 20 years. It's crazy. He's just divorcing. That seems insane. I guess he won't be the richest man in the world anymore. Michael Chung, this is why you should never get married. Marriage is a scam for men. All risk and no gain. Future Wiz. I think you and Kyle will get along, especially if you're rich. Jeff could get a different hot girl every night, but no. True. Yes and no. I think that marriage is a partnership, right? You're working together towards the goal. In the beginning of the journey, it can be really helpful to have a spouse who's on board with your mission, who's on board with frugality, who's on board with supporting you. Like my wife is super supportive. We've been together 10 years. It'll be our 11th anniversary this November. Now we haven't been married that long, but we've been together that long. And high school sweethearts, I know. But she's supported me since day one. Now she's not a type A personality. She's not out there hustling for deals or earning a big income. She never really had a year where she earned more than 36,900. 37,000 was like her best year. She's never just been a big earner, but she supported me all along the way, right? And so if you have a wife that's supportive, you come home, you have a nice meal on the table, she's taking care of the kids, supporting you through those stressful times, that is very valuable. If you have a partner who's not on the same page, they can drown you, right? And you won't reach your goals. So I think that having two people focused on a goal, you get way further, way faster. That's my thought on it. So I'm sure she helped him along the way. Is she entitled to some of that? Yeah, I think so. She's probably entitled to a few billion. 65 seems like a lot. Seems like more than any person would ever need. So I don't know. Why are rich people so dumb? Because people are human. Whether they're rich or poor, people are dumb. 90% of people are dumb. And we all make bad decisions, and that's life. Gotta speak them facts. Truth. She sold at the peak. What did I miss here? We called this at the last meetup, Mike. Yeah, I think we actually did. 100%. Honestly, Jeff and his spouse should have had a plan. I'm sure they do have some sort of plan and wrote something down. It's just the media taking it and probably spinning it. Trying to have to spend his money. Awesome. We'll look at the recording. I agree with you regarding marriage. I've been with my wife since 2011. 8 years together, has only been supporting me through everything. There you go. So, there's something to that. I would happily, and this is actually an interesting point because, Jonas, we were at the London on Fire meetup where we were talking about divorce and all that kind of stuff. And I built my fire plan so that if it ever happened, which I don't think it will, but if it ever did, we were each set to be financially independent. So I plan to be financially independent as two separate units. That's the important thing to do, I think, is don't let something like a marriage dissolution or divorce destroy your financial independence, your freedom. Have to go back to work because you're not really financially independent if you're relying on the fact that you have to be married for it to work. So something to kind of consider and think about. We have always just shared all of our expenses and stuff, and that's just been, for us, what worked. Do pocket listings come to you because you're with a brokerage firm, because you're a realtor now, or do you have to hustle to find the pocket listings? So both. If you choose the right brokerage, and like if I get known in the brokerage as a young, hungry, ambitious realtor that will make their lives easy, as in they don't have to show it to anyone. I can walk through it once and it can be sold because my investors don't need to come see it. Like it's a lot easier. If I position myself as it's really easy for you to sell this property, most realtors need commission check to survive. Most people drive the fancy car and all that, nice big house. Most realtors are paycheck to paycheck. So they're desperate to get that commission check. They want to get that. If you're in their position, they got this listing. They don't really care. They're not emotionally invested. They've got this deal they want to sell, and they want to sell it as easily, as fast as possible, and for as much money as they can to get the most commission. But in the importance of what's easiest and, overall best. And easy is the big thing. Most people want an easy deal. So if I became known in the brokerage as someone who had a client that always closed, because it's a big risk. A lot of investors from Toronto come down, offer on properties, don't give the deposit check. They hold out 3 days. They don't give the deposit check. The deal falls apart. Or they put a deposit down and they walk away. I sold the property last year to an investor. They put a $5,000 deposit and they walked away. And I kept the deposit. I kept their $5,000. I resold it again. That's the reality. Firm offers, no financing, no building inspection. Deals fall apart all the time. My investors' deals don't fall apart because if they fall apart, I buy the property. Going in with that sort of mentality where we can close whenever, super flexible closing, that can be worth $5,000 right there off the purchase price. And super easy to close. If someone else had the same offer price as me, I'd win because they like me more. They know me better. They know my buyer's going to close no matter what. And it really, what ends up happening is like a realtor gets, if I got a listing and I was them, right? Put yourself in their position. And I got a listing, I'm like, and I know hundreds of realtors. Who am I gonna call? I'm gonna call like whoever I'm thinking about that day. I call my buddy Mike. Mike always has a good buyer. He's always easy. He goes to the property, just buys it, firm offer, it's done. I'll call Mike, have him take a look, and I'll call someone else too. But if you're like that guy who puts lots of conditions, can never close, doesn't have good buyers, you aren't going to get the call on that pocket listing. You're not gonna see it till it hits MLS probably. Or you might see it when it circulates in your office. Like there's a sheet every morning that's circulated in most brokerages. The one I'm going to go to is going to have like 125, 130 agents. They're going to circulate a sheet, 125 agents are going to circulate what they're listing the next couple of days before it hits MLS. And so if you're at a brokerage that's doing probably a couple thousand deals a year, you're going to see everything before it hits the MLS at your brokerage. So you want to be at a brokerage that's a top producing brokerage. You don't want to be at like a random mom and pop brokerage that has no agents selling anything, because you do get the inside track being a good brokerage. But yeah, I guess how do you get the pocket listings? If there are agents at other brokerages, you become friends with them. And you say, look, I've got cash buyers. I've got people who can close strong. And you got to close a deal or two before they're going to call you. Like if I just call someone and tell them, hey, I got great buyers, give me the deals, no one's going to call me. But when I buy a property or two, we develop a relationship, we go get some coffee, and they see that I bring solid buyers, and that every time I bring strong deposits and that I always close, they're going to call me because I'm a sure thing. So that's something that I'm going to develop. That's going to be part of my brand. That's been the way I've always been, as a bit of a risk taker. But my word is my bond, and so when I bring something to the table, I don't mess around. And I expect my investors the same way. Okay, awesome. We'll look at the recording. We read that one. Do pocket listings come to you? Yeah, we just answered that. Is it possible to buy a home 5% down, primary residence, then a year later move to convert to investment property, then buy a second home as a primary resident and repeat the process without being taxed? Chris Sayers, rewatched the recording where I talked earlier in this video about why I think 20% is the golden rule and why I think you should not buy 5% down. You can do it a couple of times, yes. With private mortgage insurance, you will pay out the ass for that. The fee is 4% of the purchase price, compounded plus interest. So it ends up taking your entire 5% deposit you're putting up on the property, your down payment, it's gone. The Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, CMHC. So I'm a big fan of just, like I said, borrowing the rest and coming up with 20% down. But yeah, check out that recording for that. That goes for passing away too, right? As if you die, at least your family will be financially free. Well, usually lots of families have lots of problems. That's exactly right. Yeah. The reason I don't have a major life insurance policy right now is because if I die, my family's just fine. They've got a huge, healthy dividend income coming in and businesses and partners on those businesses that will take care of them. And I have a good network of friends and family that would step up to the occasion. I'm not worried. Yeah, I'll be fine. Oh, I mean, I'd be dead, but other than that, my family would be fine. Okay. I don't want to have to convert it from primary residence to investment property and pay capital gains tax on it. Yeah. So Chris, when you just take basically a single family residence and convert it to a rental property, at that point you stop living in it. You just get it appraised, and from what you bought it for to what it was worth when you convert it to a rental property, that amount is tax free, and then the amount from that point forward would be considered taxable because it's investment property. You'd pay capital gains tax, which is quarter tax, half of a half. It's really actually a great way to earn income. Okay. What is considered to be frugal according to you? I assume you mean saving more than 50% of your income or something to that effect. Yeah, exactly. Frugal, I mean basically having a dollar utility value of 2 to 1 as a minimum. So that means my dollars go twice as far as the average person. That's what I expect when I say someone's frugal. They are good at making their dollars go twice as far. I, for instance, go buy $250 in groceries. I've got the same in my cart as someone who just spent $450 because I'm price matching using 10% off student and PC points and credit card cash back and all of that. So that's, I go to the movie theater and I go on Cheap Tuesday, it's half off. I use a coupon at Jack Astor's and my meal is the same as the meal next to me, but I just paid half for it. That's what I'm talking about, frugal and value conscious. I got to wrap this up, guys. It is bath time with my daughter, and family time is important. I do the book reading and put her to bed, and I like that. I enjoy reading books with her, and she's so smart. My daughter is like, she can count to 10 by herself. She gets the order wrong from 10 to 20, but she can get up to 20. Sometimes she'll like 13, like 15, but she understands 1 to 10, which like at 2.5 years old, that's insane. Like she's so smart. I'm so proud of her. And it's because we invest a lot of time into her development. So got to do that. Going to wrap this up really quick, do a couple of quick questions, and then out of here. So Chris, hopefully that was good. Also just saying, I tell my boyfriend all the time, he's signing a prenup if you ever get married. Not always the man who takes on the risk when you get married. Very true. Yeah, I mean, it's a partnership between two people. Oftentimes the man earns more or has, is more focused on finances. That's not always the case. Kim, you make a great point where, the female also takes a risk. It just so happens that men tend to earn more on average and tend to be more focused on personal finance, so they tend to seem to be the one that look like they're screwed. I have no problem losing 50% of my worth. Now, ask me that if I was getting divorced, but I mean, right now I feel like she's earned, being part of this team, right? And that's what it is. It's a team. It's a partnership. And so, yeah, sometimes in a relationship, nothing is ever fair. Nothing's ever equal. There'll be times where like I'm carrying all of the workload, it feels like. And there are times where maybe I'm not giving the relationship the attention that it needs, and she's carrying all of the load. And that's what it is give and it's take, but it's staying together through those times and finding a way to make it work. For me, loyalty, like it runs deep in our relationship. And so that's really important. With all of my friends, loyalty is most important. Message retracted, can't see what they said. 2-for-1 movies. Thanks, Mike. See you soon. Good night, guys. Thanks for the info. You're the best, dude. Women tend to choose men who earn more than them. That's mostly true, actually. Men don't care how much a woman makes. They care about other things, other assets. So yeah, I mean, that tends to be true. There are no, one size fits all, but that tends to be true. Through the good and the bad. You know what? So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. And it's 8:22. Thank you all for watching the live stream, and tune in on Saturday for our weekly upload. We do a weekly upload, then every Wednesday, you guys know we go live. So thank you all for tuning in, and shoot me a DM. If you've got a property that you want to sell, or you want me to just get a price on a property, don't flood my inbox because I'm already swamped. But if you do actually seriously want to sell a property, I probably have an investor who I could sell that property to for you. And if you're looking to buy a property, I can help you with that in London, Ontario. No problem. So yeah, that's what's up. And yeah, hello, world of YouTube. Looking deep into the lens of the camera, the enigma of the world. And get some sleep. I'm gonna end this now. Assets. That's too good. That is too good. Assets. All right, everyone, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You guys know the drill. As always, to unlock wealth through you have 3 levers in your control. You have 3 things you can play with. In the order of most importance at the beginning of your journey, you need to spend less, right? So crank that lever down. You need to earn more. You need to maximize those returns. Now, if you're already wealthy, you already have that nest egg built up, it goes the opposite way. You need to maximize those returns first, then earn more, and then spending less means the least amount of value because your 1% rate of increase in return has way more impact once you're wealthy. But when you're just starting on this journey, if you have less than 500,000 net worth, you should focus on frugality and earning more, and then worry about what you invest in. So that's what I got to share for you today. Spend less, earn more, and maximize returns. Bye, everyone. Have a good night. Happy Wednesday. Go crush 2019, everyone. Crush it.